Tennessee gets another victory, 44-6 over the Kentucky Wildcats. I'm Vince Ferrara alongside Jimmy Hyams. Boy, this was not a trap game for Tennessee. It may have been for a lot of people, but I didn't buy into that going in, and Tennessee took care of that early.
Neither one of us bought into it being a trap game. I let Tennessee be focused. They should have been. They barely beat Kentucky a year ago. But you talk about a complete victory. I mean, the secondary was outstanding. They had 3 interceptions. The run defense was solid. Hendon Hooker with another very efficient game. He accounted for 4 touchdowns. Tennessee is an outstanding football team. Now, I'll say this. They haven't always played that well on defense, right? That's probably the third really good defensive game they played, LSU, Pitt being the others. But they just completely shut down Kentucky. Kentucky had a little bit more than 200 yards. They made Will Levis look subpar.
Not like the top pick in the draft?
Not even close. Give me Hendon Hooker. You can have Will Levis. Give me Hendon Hooker. He's a better quarterback in college. He'll be a better pro quarterback as well.
Yeah.
I've told you before, I think Will Levis is Taysom Hill. That's what I think he is. A good athlete, good arm, but not a great quarterback. His decision-making is slow, and Tennessee got after him, and I know he didn't get a lot of help. I get that, and he was sacked a lot. But even when he did have time, he made bad throws.
Yeah.
So I'm just not as high on Will Levis as the NFL folks are.
Yeah, and he can be a turnover machine when he tries to be a hero. The thing that Tennessee did is they got up on Kentucky, forced them to have to throw more. Rodriguez only had 15 carries in the game. That's not a recipe for their success. Right. And you got to give Tennessee credit. They looked better in the secondary and coverage. You had guys manning up a lot more and not as many busts as we've seen in the past.
Well, you saw Danico Slaughter with an interception. Not only that, he caused another interception.
Right.
He broke up a pass that was intercepted by Juwan Mitchell. And then you had Brandon Turnage with an interception. So the secondary really, you could give them 3 interceptions, even though I know Mitchell's a linebacker, but Slaughter helped cause that. Slaughter played safety until this game, and he moved him into the cornerback position.
Right.
Vince, he showed the versatility there. He said he'd rather be at safety because he likes to hit people.
Yeah.
But I tell you what he played outstanding. Really impressed with what he did. Really impressed with everything about Tennessee's game. Heck, even if you want to go to the punting game, with Paxton Brooks, I just thought this was a complete win by Tennessee. I keep getting more and more impressed by Tennessee with what they're doing. And thank you, Slaughter, for being honest. When he was asked, are you surprised that Tennessee's where it is based on 2020, he said, yeah, I'm surprised. A lot of people want to act like they're not.
Right.
Who isn't surprised? Come on. This has been an unbelievable story for Tennessee.
Surprised, but you have to adjust, and you just talked about that, how you continue to be more and more impressed. You have to adjust and not just go by what you thought you knew about college football entering the preseason. And I wonder how many people next week will have that opinion of this year's Vols versus what they already had established. Get to that in a second. 3 interceptions by Tennessee defenders, all first career interceptions. And Jimmy, you and I were looking this up. 6 points allowed by this Tennessee defense, the fewest since 2008 by Tennessee in a league game. That's pretty impressive. That was against Mississippi State.
It was against Mississippi State, and that is impressive that Tennessee was able to do that. There was a 7-point game in there when Kentucky got 7, but missing the extra point here or having it blocked helped with Tennessee in that regard. So just a really dominant performance. Look, let's don't forget, Kentucky had only lost 1 game this year with Levis at quarterback.
Right.
And they lost to South Carolina when he didn't play. They were ranked in the top 20. I mean, this is a good, solid football team, and Tennessee just dismantled them.
Yeah.
I mean, the confidence this team has, the way they go about it, the way they play, and I love what they did with Jalen Hyatt. They weren't quite wheel routes, okay?
Right.
But what they were doing was they kind of had him cross routes with another receiver.
Tillman.
And so the cornerback was leaving him thinking he had safety help.
Right.
And they burned him on that about 3 times.
Yeah.
I think that's tremendous coaching. I think Tennessee saw something in that secondary that they knew would be open to run that route, and they hit Hyatt. And look, you can argue he's the best receiver in the country, and yet he gets 15 yards open. Now, how does that happen?
Yeah.
That's pretty darn good play calling and scheming, in my opinion.
Absolutely. You hit it. It's the conflict. It's the tempo. It's how they spread you out. It's now the threat of Tillman. When they threw to him, he had 2 targets in the first couple of plays, so then the safety jumps Tillman's route underneath, and then the corner leaves him and thinks he has a safety help. Well, he's going to Tillman, and now you're in business with those wide open receivers. I don't think it's just bust. I know people that just look at this Tennessee team in a bubble in this this game may say, oh, there's just buzz. I mean, Tennessee's just getting lucky. How can you leave that guy open? I think Tennessee, with everything they threaten you with, sets up more of those mistakes.
They're creating buzz with creativity.
Right.
And that's coaching to me. And I know that Coach Hype was going to sit there and say, oh, it's the players. Yeah, it is the players. They're executing it, but you're putting them in position to win. And, heck, I think we could complete a pass when Hyatt's 20 yards open, right?
Yeah.
So it's just amazing to me to see what this team has done. It's amazing to see the transformation of Hyatt, a guy that lost his job after the Florida game a year ago because he kept dropping passes.
Right.
And now look what the guy's doing. He's incredible. You had a great stat that he has, 11 touchdown catches in a 20-quarter period?
The last 14 quarters, 3.5.
14 quarters.
Yeah, that was at halftime.
Yeah.
So insane.
Yeah, and he's at the school record now. He's got 14 touchdown catches. Marcus Nash had the record.
Yeah.
He met Chad Johnson tonight. He was all excited about that. But and he remains humble.
Absolutely.
He remains humble. He doesn't talk about accolades. He doesn't talk about himself. He says, "Look, I want to be a better player to help this team win." And you kept hearing Hendon Hooker today talking about the goal in January was to get to Atlanta.
Yeah.
That means you win the East Division. Who thought that even possible? I didn't.
Nope.
But by golly, they're right on the doorstep of it. And this week in Athens is going to tell the tale.
It will. Hyatt now tied for 5th in career touchdown receptions, which is insane based on he only had 4 coming into this year. He's at 18 with Joey Kent having the all-time record at 25, and that's, I think, potentially in jeopardy with still a lot of football to go. All right, let's talk about Athens next week. Biggest regular season football game for Tennessee since?
I'm going to say Florida in 1998.
Wow.
Now, you might argue Arkansas. Arkansas was undefeated that same year in 98. They weren't ranked as high as Florida, but they were a top 10 team. They were undefeated. That obviously was a huge game, but it didn't carry the cachet of Florida, right? Florida was Steve Spurrier. They had won a national championship 2 years before that. They had great athletes, great players, had a great coach, and yet that game in 98 was absolutely humongous for Tennessee, and they finally beat Florida. They finally got over the hump after losing, 5 or so in a row to the Gators. So, to me, it's the biggest game for Tennessee since 1998 against Florida.
I'm not sure there's been a top 5 matchup between Tennessee and Georgia before, right? I'll have to look that up.
I'd have to look it up, too, but I don't recall one. So that's going to be – and there's no bigger game in the country.
Right.
2 undefeated teams, ranked in the top 3. And I got to be honest with you, all this year I have thought, I'm going to pick Georgia. I'm not so sure right now what I'm going to do because what I'm seeing out of Tennessee, and look, they weren't as sharp offensively as they could be. They had a number of possessions on the plus side of the field where they didn't score, they kicked field goal.
Right.
And that's a little bit unusual. So they could even play better, as crazy as that sounds. But I give them a very good chance to beat Georgia. I didn't give them much of a chance going into the season, even a few weeks ago. Right now, I would not be surprised if Tennessee beat Georgia.
Totally agree. So many other aspects of this game. Jimmy and Judge Tim Irwin, VFL, will break it down for you on Sunday Sports Sound Off. Of course, John and Jimmy on Sports Talk throughout the week. Next week, all of our local shows on Monday. But we'll have all the coverage for you, all the postgame. Josh Heupel, a bunch of the players we had a chance to talk to. You can check all that out on our YouTube channel for Sports Animal 991. Look it up there. And then on our website, 991thesportsanimal.com. Jimmy, working on a blog as well, I'm sure, on this one.
We'll write a blog, and it's going to be about why Hendon Hooker's better than Will Levis. I'll tell you that right now. That's a little hint.
Yeah, and so fans will agree with that one. So retweet Jimmy's tweet on that. But thanks for watching. Appreciate it. All the coverage coming up on our social media accounts and our website. For Jimmy Hyams, I'm Vince Ferrara. Tennessee 8-0, 4-0 in the SEC, and now a top 5 matchup with the Georgia Bulldogs in Athens next week. We'll have it all covered for you. I'm Vince Ferrara. Thanks for watching. See ya.